Selfishness is considered a source of trouble because it is fundamentally opposed to the values of harmony, cooperation, and selflessness, which are essential for a peaceful and happy society. In the worldview presented by the Life Chanyuan documents, selfishness leads to various negative outcomes such as conflict, dissatisfaction, and suffering. Specifically, the New Era Human 800 values state that selfishness is a primary cause of trouble as it fosters behaviors and attitudes that disrupt the collective well being and harmony necessary for a thriving community. 9 source. This perspective emphasizes that true happiness and fulfillment come from selflessness, mutual support, and living in accordance with higher moral and spiritual principles. 9 source. Certainly, here are a few story examples illustrating how selfishness can lead to trouble, aligning with the values and worldview from the Life Chanyuan documents. Hashler's Story 1: The Greedy Merchant. In a small village, there was a merchant named Liang who was known for his greed. He always sought to maximize his profits, often at the expense of others. He would sell his goods at exorbitant prices and cheat his customers by giving them less than what they paid for. Over time, the villagers grew resentful of Liang's behavior. One day, a famine struck the village. Food and resources became scarce. Instead of helping his fellow villagers, Liang hoarded his supplies and demanded even higher prices. Desperate and hungry, the villagers decided they could no longer tolerate his selfishness. They banded together and boycotted his shop, seeking help from neighboring villages instead. Without customers, Liang's business collapsed. He realized too late that his greed had isolated him from the community. Had he chosen to share his resources and support his neighbors during the crisis, he would have built strong bonds and ensured mutual survival. Instead, his selfishness led to his downfall and left him destitute. Story 2: The Self-Centered Leader. In the kingdom of Alara, King Cedric ruled with an iron fist. He was known for prioritizing his desires and luxuries over the needs of his people. Taxes were high, and the wealth of the kingdom was spent on grand palaces and lavish feasts for the king and his court, while the common folk struggled to make ends meet. A severe drought hit Alara, causing widespread crop failure and water shortages. The people pleaded with King Cedric for relief, but he remained indifferent, continuing to indulge in his excesses. The kingdom's resources dwindled, and discontent grew among the populace. Eventually, the people's frustration boiled over into rebellion. They rose against the king, demanding justice and fair treatment. The rebellion was fierce, and King Cedric was overthrown. The new leaders, chosen from among the common folk, prioritized rebuilding the kingdom with fairness and compassion, ensuring resources were shared equitably. King Cedric's selfishness had led to his loss of power and the suffering of his kingdom. The story of Alara became a lesson in how self-centered leadership can bring about turmoil and destruction, while selflessness and empathy foster unity and prosperity. 3. The Isolated Farmer. In a remote village, there lived a farmer named Jun who owned the most fertile land. Instead of helping his neighbors or sharing farming techniques, Jun kept his methods a secret, ensuring his fields were always the most bountiful. He refused to lend tools or assist others, that fearing it would diminish his own success. One year, a blight struck the village, affecting all crops except Jun's. Desperate, the villagers asked for his help, but he turned them away, focusing solely on his own harvest. However, without the support of the community, Jun struggled to maintain his land. Weeds grew uncontrollably, and pests invaded his fields. Realizing he couldn't manage alone, Jun sought help from the villagers, but they were reluctant to assist someone who had always been so selfish. His crops failed, and he faced the same hardships as everyone else. Jun learned that in isolation, even the most fertile land can become barren. He vowed to change his ways, understanding that cooperation and generosity were vital for everyone's prosperity. These stories highlight the consequences of selfishness and the importance of selflessness, cooperation, and community support, reflecting the values and principles found in the Life Chanyuan documents. 9 source.